So today we're testing out the new Mack Daddy 5 jaw wedges. So these are coming to replace the Mack Daddy 4. We've seen these have been really popular both with amateurs and out on tour with a lot of wins with these wedges. So a key thing with the new design is an improvement to the grooves and a design for more spin. So one thing they're looking at is from 80 yards in, you're really meant to get that kind of one bounce and then check situation. So we're going to hit a few shots and see if that performs like that. Yeah, so I've got about 80 yards here. I've got the 52 degree. So we're testing this in just a dynamic gold S200 shaft. And what we've seen there is it literally did just stop one pop and then just checked back. So obviously what they're saying is happening. So one of the other big things about the spin is that when you're looking at wedges, you want it to be consistent. So you don't want one shot to spin back 30 feet and then the next one to spin back 2. And actually what we've seen is they've all spun back a very equal distance, and the distance control has been really consistent across all the shots. But let's head up to the green and have a look. So we can see all 3 shots on the green here. This one I didn't strike quite as good as the others, but across all 3 I still saw really consistent spin levels, so that's really key. So even if you're flushing them or not quite striking it, you know that you're going to get the same amount of spin, so you can figure out what shot you're going to hit into the green and allow for how much spin control you're going to get. But it's also just good to know that you can fire in at tight pins and you're going to get that amount of spin consistently, so I think that's really key, and that's a promise that Callaway gave us and they have actually come up on. So we're just in the bunker now, and for this shot I've got my 60 degrees, so this has got 8 degrees of bounce, and we've also got this in the C grind. So this is slightly more aggressive grind, and for me I like it because it means I can manipulate the face more. So when I put it behind the ball, it still looks like I'm going to hit a great shot even though I've got the face set open. So we've probably got about a 20-yard bunker shot here. So we're looking for a bit of control, but I'm not necessarily looking for lots of spin because I want it to kind of just release down the slope to the pin. So I flew that just past the pin, bounced, and then just checked a little bit. So once it's checked up, it's not really rolled far at all, maybe a foot. So we are seeing quite a bit of control there. I probably flew that slightly more than I intended, so just need to hit this one a bit softer. Yeah, so that one was a lot better, and it's just released out by the pin. So we've seen with both a very consistent level of spin, which is something that's really important in a bunker because you want to predict what's going to happen and just know that on each shot you can control your landing and know where it's going to spin from. I think one thing is here that it sits really nice behind the ball. I think it's quite pear-shaped in design, so it looks quite nice and big and forgiving, even though we've got quite a lot of loft. So in these we see the new Jaws groove design, and this is designed with really sharp edge radius, so it just means you're getting more spin, so you can be more precise on those shots into the green. So another key thing we see in these wedges is optimised head progression. So the size and the shaping of the heads is changed throughout the loft, so this just means as you move into your irons it's more of a continuous transition and doesn't suddenly feel like there's a big gap between the two. So we've got 2 finishes in these. We've got the platinum chrome and then there's also a tall grain finish. So there's 5 grinds across this range, but there's 2 that have really been updated for this. So the W grind with low bounce is key, and this is a new one that is really tour inspired and people on tour have been asking for. And there's also the C grind that's been updated quite a lot. So I've got a 56 degree now, and this is just in a standard so really I'd be using this for pitch shots and just like kind of your standard chip shot, which is what we've got here. So we're on the front and the fringe, and we're just looking to bounce it up kind of 50% of the way and then let it release out. So there we saw that checked up nicely after the first bounce and then just released up the hill. So we're seeing that level of control, but you're still getting that bit of run out that you want on this style of shot. So a key thing here is like sound and feel. Those feel really nice off the face, and I feel like I know what speed it's going to come off and I can control that consistently throughout the shots. That's really important to me around the greens because I'm generally a field player. So obviously that's really important to know what it's going to feel like off the face. I'd also say visually it sits really nicely behind the ball. We can see across the range that they're slightly different in shaping, so this is a 56, so it's kind of the mid-size, but as you move up into the 52 it's shaped a bit more like an iron, so it feels like you're hitting full shots with it, and it doesn't feel like you've moved massively out of the iron range. So what we've seen there across a variety of different short game shots is that we've had a really consistent spin and just a really nice feel, good sound off the face, and that's come from even the pitch shots down to the shorter shots. And Callaway have definitely delivered on that promise of providing that one stop and then spin on the full pitch shots. So I also really liked the fact that the different heads throughout the range were shaped differently. So we saw on the full shots with the 52 that we were pitching with, that it actually has more of an iron-like shape, so then when you move up into your pitching wedge, it doesn't feel like there's that much of a difference. But then when you move down into the shorter clubs, such as the 60, it's got more of the traditional wedge style and slightly a bigger head. And I think that worked really well for me when I was on the full shots. I felt like it was more of a transition between my irons, and sometimes that's a shot which I find hard because I feel like I can't hit it as a full shot because it doesn't look like an iron. So I really enjoyed that new feature that they brought into these wedges. So obviously there are 5 different grind options in these range. We've tested 2 different ones, the standard and the C. So I think with grind options it's really important to think about what kind of shots you want to play around the green, read up and see which ones are best for which, and then just go and test them out, because one's going to suit different people. For me, I really liked the use of the C grind in my most lofted club, so I could just manipulate the face a lot more around the greens, because that's something I do a lot. I like to open the face up or close the face down and hit different shots. So the Mack Daddy 4 was really successful, and I think overall with this Mack Daddy 5 jaws we've seen that they've just improved the range even more. This is a really great wedge, and I think we're going to see it do really well both for amateurs and out on tour. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions, feel free to put them in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you again soon.